Well, hello everyone. I am Adrià Huguet, CTO and founder of KUMUX, and welcome to the first webinar we organize. I'm sure we will organize more in the near future due to the good response you have given to us. I think there are something like 200 people signed up, so thank you very much for your interest. So in this 30-minute talk, I'm going to introduce our company and talk about the impact of light on people. The idea is that if you have questions during the explanation, you can write and send them in the chat or replay any of the emails we send about the webinar. Also, we have opened the hello@kumux.io email direction. So if you have any question, you can send them there. And at the end of the talk, I will answer those that we have time to answer. Here we can see an image of a hospital with a dynamic lighting system with CCT and brightness control, which adapts to the dynamism of exterior lighting. What if I tell you that with luminaires like this, we can increase worker productivity in an office, improve patient recovery in hospitals, make students in a classroom get better grades, or reduce the number of falls in a nursing home? The idea of the technology is to create a positive impact on people's health and well-being, and theoretically we follow the principles of human-centric lighting, which considers these three verticals: visual, emotional, and biological or circadian. Firstly, the visual part is related to the quality of the light we receive from the point of view of image formation. It refers to the definition of the objects we can see and the color rendering quality of the object's colors, because it is not the same to observe the color of a car when sunlight is present, or for example at night under yellow sodium illumination. And here there are numerous metrics that we could talk about at length, but I think it is beyond the scope of this webinar. So secondly, we have the emotional part, usually related to the work of a lighting designer. This part is related to the feelings that, for example, a restaurant transmits to us when we enter. It is not the same to enter to a McDonald's, designed to have a lot of rotation and people eating and leaving, than the lighting of a, let's say, good restaurant, usually with much warmer colors, with luminaires located in a lower plane, etc. And this part varies greatly depending on the project. And finally, we have the biological or circadian part, probably the least known, which is being the focus of most recent lighting studies. It all started in 2001 when a group of scientists discovered that inside our eye, apart from the cones and rods, we had another type of photoreceptor cells called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, don't worry about the name, that are sensitive to the blue part of the light. These cells are linked to the segregation of certain hormones such as melatonin, which is directly related to the regulation of circadian rhythms. So therefore, here we have a direct relationship between the light that hits our retina and the regulation of human circadian rhythms. And the key question, what are circadian rhythms? Well, by definition, circadian rhythms are physical, mental, and behavioral changes that follow a 24-hour cycle. But why are they so important? Well, it turns out that having an imbalance in circadian rhythms can lead to serious health consequences, such as an increase of the rate of obesity, an increase in blood pressure, significant reduction of the quality of sleep, an increase of stress, diabetes and depression in the elderly, also an increased risk of injury in athletes or an increased risk of breast cancer in women. And all these are just examples of what has been published in scientific articles in recent years. Here we can see how our body evolves physiologically due to circadian rhythms regulation. Obviously, this is an example of an average person, and from one individual to another, there can be important changes, but we can see, for example, that at 10 a.m., we have the peak of maximum alertness, or that at 9 p.m. begins the segregation of melatonin, preparing our body for rest. Or finally, we see that at 7:30 a.m., the daily melatonin cycle closes and the segregation stops, in this case to prepare our body to wake up with energy. At KUMUX, we offer services in form of data directly linked to control systems and giving logic to smart lighting systems. On a practical level, this means that the user of a building is not, let's say, have to worry about manually changing the lighting in this building, but the user will enjoy the benefits of natural light. KUMUX constantly controls the lighting levels and hues needed to have this advantage in spaces like offices, hospitals, schools, or nursing homes, among many other locations. And I think this is important. Users are at the center of our product design, so we provide an automated, and this is a very important word for us, solution for them, so that they only have to turn the light on and off like a normal switch to experience the full benefit of our solution. Basically, we base our algorithms on these 4 factors: daytime, geolocation, activity, and needs. And I will give examples of the 4 to make it clear what we are referring to. The first one, daytime, refers to the fact that a user can perform the same action at different times of the day for totally different purposes. For example, we can think of the action of taking a shower, because when someone takes a shower in the morning, they are looking for activation for the body to wake up and start the day with energy. And on the other hand, during the night, the opposite effect is wanted, since we are thinking about going to sleep. For this same action, we have a very different lighting need, since in the morning we will need a cold and powerful light to activate us, while at night we will need a warm and dim light to relax. The second factor is geolocation. And in this case, we can think of the lighting needs of 2 people sharing similar time zones. For example, one located in New York and another one located in Buenos Aires. So during the month of June at 7 o'clock in the evening, in New York, it is completely daylight, since it is summer, as you can see on the left picture, while in Buenos Aires, it is already completely dark, since it is winter, as you can see on the right picture. So the lighting needs of people living in different places are also different. The third factor is activity, because the same person in the same location can plan activities as different as reading or physical activity. In the first case, this person will need a powerful light to help her or help him to concentrate while maintaining a state of relaxation, while in the second case, this person will need an activation light. And finally, people's needs also change according to their profile, and the same activity in the same place may require different lighting if the user is a child or an elderly person. Due to the passage of time, the eye undergoes a degeneration that results in a need to increase the illumination levels and correctly regulate the circadian rhythms, as I will explain this later, of older users. Here we can see what happens in an office if it has a fixed lighting system. And I would even say more, this is also what happens in an office with a dynamic lighting system, but which has to be controlled by the users, because after 1 year, only 5% of the manual dynamic lighting systems are still controlled every day. So in this case, we can see how the light outside is changing while inside everything remains the same. In the opposite case, we have this scenario where the light inside the same office automatically follows what is happening outside, both in hue and CCT, and in brightness control. Here is how our system works. We have developed a cloud-to-cloud solution that connects to the cloud of the control system. For example, we are currently working with control systems of large companies such as Tuya Smart, Kasambi, or KNX that are really well known in the lighting industry. And very soon, I think we will be able to announce new agreements with leading companies in the sector that I am sure you all also know. And in this case, we see how the information exchange system works, where we receive information such as the characteristics of the luminaire, date, time, and geolocation, indoor location, etc. And we process all the information and return it so that the control system can use it to control the luminaires. As an example, we can see that in this case, we return parameters that can be easily modulated by any control system, such as CCT or brightness. And furthermore, depending on the information provided by the request, we can calculate parameters such as color rendering index, CRI, the IES TM3018 metrics, or circadian parameters such as circadian stimulus, ampere ratio, among many others. In addition, the solution we have developed takes into consideration standards such as the WELL standard, and we have an agreement also with UL, and we are working closely on joint solutions with them. So to summarize, our solution needs to enable white luminaires and a control system compatible with us. So if anyone, for example, an integrator, is working with any of the control systems I have mentioned, TuyaSmart, Casambi, or KNX, and wants to incorporate our solution, just contact us through our website or the contact details I will give at the end of the talk. Now I'm going to talk about some of the solutions we have prepared for different spaces or activities, such as nursing homes, schools, hospitals, or offices. So let's start with nursing homes. As the year goes by, as I said before, less and less light enters our eye due to the thickening of the crystalline lens, affecting vision and affecting also the regulation of circadian rhythms. Older people require more time for their eyes to adjust extreme transitions between light and dark. For example, we can think about the transition between the corridor and the residence room, and studies in Alzheimer's disease-related dementias, or ASRD, show that poor lighting conditions are related to lower activity levels and a greater disruption of their rest activity patterns compared to other healthy older adults. Several field studies have shown that exposure to a robust light-dark patterns enables seniors to consolidate their sleep during the night and reduce their napping during the day. Moreover, falls are part of everyday life in a retirement home, and enabling the physical well-being of the elderly is one of the key objectives to avoid rapid physical and mental declines. You have to think that every year, more or less 50% of the elderly suffer a fall, so serious injuries such as hip fractures lead to a lasting reduction in independence for the majority of the affected users. And what can the KUMUX solution contribute here? Well, according to a recent Harvard study, researchers were able to reduce the fall of senior residents at the nursing home by as much as 43%, which is a lot, through lighting. And however, rather than making the environment brighter, the lighting instead focused on mimicking a natural circadian rhythm throughout the day. Next solution, in schools, we must be careful with destabilizations of the sleep-wake cycle, especially at the ages from 12 to 14, because we have seen studies showing that students with higher grades tend to go to bed earlier than students with lower grades. So in this case, applying circadian light solutions in schools can help promote better sleep quality and increases the performance of the students the next day. Next solution, hospitals are generally not a very pleasant place for patients, especially if there is no reference from the outside or no dynamic lighting systems. And I can speak in first person, as I spent a couple of nights in a hospital due to an injury. And the second day, I already completely lost track of time. And basically, a patient who always has the same lighting will not have the sensation of time passing, something that casinos also look for, by the way. And this can greatly affect his recovery process, which is vital after a surgery. There are studies that state that a better rest greatly reduces the recovery time of patients, so installing a dynamic lighting system which follows the solar cycles can be of great help in recovery. And finally, in offices, I'm sure that many of you have been in offices where the lighting conditions were not ideal to work properly, almost like entering a cave, or in other offices with hundreds of square meters where it is impossible to see a window, or it is very common for workers to lower the blinds to avoid reflections on the screens, which prevents them from seeing what is happening outside. So the idea here is to provide the right levels of hue and brightness so that we are synchronized with what is happening outside. And with this procedure, it is possible to increase alertness, reduce daytime sleepiness, and consequently increase work performance. But in reality, the premise is very simple. If a worker rests better, he or she will perform better the next day. And finally, we have a side effect when we apply a circadian solution, such as the one we have developed. because by performing an intelligent brightness control, we manage to reduce energy consumption. The amount obviously depends on the installation and the activity of the users, as for some solutions the dimming will be more severe than others, but to give an example, in an office environment we can reduce the energy consumption by around 20% more or less. Here is an example of the simulator available on our website, where you can obtain values for lighting control and estimate the energy savings generated. Today we have updated the contents for the different solutions I presented, so if you enter, you will find new information in case you have already entered before. So we will go to the simulator and I will show you how it works. Okay, here we have our simulator. Here we have the different solutions I have presented: hospitals, offices, school. Here, for example, if I click inside the office tab, we will see, for example, the different activities or different indoor spaces we have related to the office. We can change it to school to see other different activities. And let's put, for example, a hospital inside a patient room. Let's say that this hospital has 5,000 square meters, is located in Barcelona, and let's say that we are in December, or we want information during December. Here we can see the preview of what is going to happen in this hospital, and here we can see a chart, okay, where we can see the different lighting levels for let's say a standard day in December. During the night, we will have very low values of brightness and very low values of CCT. And during the morning and during the noon, we will have a very high brightness level values and high color temperature values. Here we have information about the sunrise and the sunset. And here we have information about the power electricity price, because, for example, if we change the location and we put, for example, here Sydney, we need to change this power electricity price. Also, this chart is going to change. As you can see, this chart is different from the last one. And here in the power electricity price, you can put the price of the electricity in dollars per kilowatt hour. You know that, for example, in Europe, the price of electricity is variable and skyrocketing right now. So we have put the option that the user can choose between, let's say, expensive or extremely expensive energy price. So here, if we change this value for 0.5, for example, here we can see how the saved money per year changes. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.